Hi.
What's up?
How
How you
are,
doing?
good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for willing to do this.
Of course. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So I could just jump around then with your career so far.
Yeah.
I
Do
know.
do
Okay. I know that you started out as a audio editor first.
Yes, that's true. And I still do audio work professionally, but I do more of mixing. So I'm actually mixing an anime series right now that which
Oh,
is pretty exciting. Yeah. And I also mix the audio for commercials, promos. Yeah, so that in combo with the voice acting, it kind of goes hand in hand and pays the bills. So,
was one of the first things that you worked on for editing of the Star Trek Online game?
let's see. For that, I was actually an assistant recordist. So basically, what that means is, um, it's different now, and especially post COVID. Like studio setups are, studio protocols just different across the board. But how it would go is there would be two engineers in the room, a first engineer and a second engineer. First engineer is actually manning the recording software, and then the second engineer is, or the assistant engineer, whatever it says on IMDb, uh, is responsible for, setting up the actor on mic, actually taking notes. So saying like, oh, we're on take one, we're on take two, and then the director will call out, like, oh, he did three takes in take two, so I like take 2C or 2B, and so you have to notate. So um, that was actually my role on Star Trek Online for that session. Actually, my first uh, dialogue editing role was for Fallout New Vegas. Actually,
Oh,
fresh out of audio school, and yeah, that was a trip. That was a lot because in a lot of professions and industries, there's your formal education, and then once you get out into the workforce, it's kind of like your education just starts all over again because you have all your stuff that you learn from the curriculum, and then actually applying it to real world situations that becomes uh, just a whole new education in and of itself. Same goes for voice acting too. You may have a theater background, improv background, how to apply that to the professional world,
mhm.
whether it be a commercial or a cartoon or a video game. It's a whole nother ball game. Just learning to apply it properly. So,
And I know that you got to early on, you got to watch people like Kari Walgren do their stuff.
oh yeah, I've met so many pros. Truly lucky working. The studio that I worked at and still work at is called Soundworks, and yeah, a lot of big names gone through those doors. John DiMaggio, Rob Paulson, uh, who else? Steve Bloom. Um, most of the only member of the cast that I haven't met from Futurama is Billy West, and so he's still on my list to complete
Yeah.
that because Futurama is definitely my favorite. It's probably my favorite cartoon of all time, I would say.
What was the what was your experience on the Christopher Walken movie?
Oh, assistant.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Same thing. When I was describing the job of a second engineer, it was same exact thing as that. Setting the actor up on mic. A lot of note taking during the session. Um, a lot of the paperwork of it and notating and you know so hey man, a credit's a credit, and you gotta give yourself credit where where you're due. So every little bit counts.
What about those two horror movies you worked on?
Uh, let's see. I know one of them we had me and a buddy, um, two separate buddies. Uh, they knew people that were working on the movie and knew people that were licensing music for the movie, and they're like, "Hey, we can probably get one of our songs on here." So for one of them, for the mooring, I know we actually wrote a. My friend at the time worked at Sunset Sound, which is a legendary recording studio.
Yep.
We went in there and recorded um, a tune. We knew the film. We knew the filmmaker, and somehow he knew the filmmaker who was making the movie to sell it to Lionsgate. I was actually in a metal band. I'm a huge metalhead, by the way, for sure, like through and through. So when I first moved out to LA, I was still trying to be in bands and stuff, and I was in a metal band. And same situation. One of our guitarists worked at a music library, and they're like, "Hey, we can probably get one of our songs in this movie," and so we did. And I can't remember if I actually saw any like royalties from that, but from the mooring, definitely. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, then with voiceover, was it Payday 2
yeah,
started?
yeah. I got that one actually off of a pay to play site like voices.com or voices123. Still a lot of what I do now. Well, not only what I do, but a lot of it sometimes is just screaming. I'm
Mm.
sure I'm sure you've had a lot of actors on here that are like, "Yeah, I get hired to do a lot of screaming." Like grenade or like ah, or that I'm on fire or whatever. So that one was it was actually I don't think they have a separate IMDb page for it, but Payday 2 did a collab with what is it? Goat. Remember that game Goat Simulator? I was hired on for that to be like, "You put the goat down." like being like a cop yelling through like a bullhorn. You can actually find all my lines comped together on a YouTube video somewhere where it's like, "That goat is a federal witness," and you're like, "You goat here now," and just all this ridiculous shit and screaming about goats. So
Yeah.
so that's what that one was.
How did you? Is there a special story of how?
Pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Is there a special story of how you got into SAG too?
Let's see. Yeah, it was actually a um my Taft Hartley. So there's a couple ways to get into the union. One is it's kind of a catch-22 where you need experience to work, but you need to work to gain experience.
Hmm.
So there's a process called Taft Hartley where the um uh you can if you're non-union, you can do a union job. Um and then you become eligible to get into the union. So how that came about is more second engineering at the same studio, Soundworks. I was second engineer on a cartoon that I believe is on Disney Junior called Sheriff Callie's Wild West, and the showrunner or the producer there in the room with us was a big like music head, and so we recorded. She would get like famous musicians to come and like guest star, and it's like a preschool cartoon, but they would like do the voice of like a squirrel or a talking cactus or something fun like that. So we got to meet like we got to record Iggy Pop, and I got a picture with Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, which was pretty dope. And Henry Rollins, that was one of them. He was dope. And and then one of them that was supposed to be on was a country singer, uh, Dwight Yoakam, legendary country singer Dwight Yoakam. He had like I think his contract got messed up, and they couldn't get him booked correctly, and it was coming up to the deadline of the episode shipping, and I was already kind of starting my journey into voiceover. And so they're like, "Hey, you can do the scratch vocals. They'll do what's sometimes like scratch vocals where
Right.
if yeah, and if they have to wait for the big fancy actor to come in, they'll hire like a lesser actor like me to come in and just act as like a placeholder, and if they sound like them, bonus. So like, yeah, you get in there and do like the scratch recording, and until we get this Dwight Yoakam thing figured out. And so I believe, let's see, who is he? He was a beaver named Jethro Beaver, just a mischievous beaver. Kind of has that thing going on because his teeth are in the way. But and so yeah, his contract ended up getting messed up. So he's like, "Well, we got to ship this episode, so we're just gonna keep you in there." I'm like, "What? Great!"
Yeah.
So and that is the. I haven't booked a lot of union animation since, but you know that's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll I'll work on expanding my commercial and anime footprint, and maybe the um, union primetime animation will come someday. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of hard work in between there.
Having talked to Mark Hildreth and Joe Zita too, was your experience getting in with Starfox Zero really weird too?
Mine was actually through. I have a director friend that he knew me ever since I was an intern, second engineer, audio engineer. Phil Bach. He's like, hey, I got a. He knew I was starting out, and he actually threw me a lot of bones, which is very solid of him. And now he used to work with me as an engineer, and now he voice directs me as a director. And when he was like an assistant director, so we kind of worked up together, and now I'm the actor and he's the head director, which is great. So he actually tossed me the audition, and it was yeah, and apparently I sounded enough like the guy. And I'll tell you what, though, that was the first time I worked with Nintendo, and in the booth, like, I'm not even sure if I had done Rock Band yet at that point, but I was crapping my pants. I was so nervous. But it turned out great. So
Mhm.
don't let them see you sweat. No, they could see me sweat for sure. I was
Yeah. So then, I know you got to do some stuff on the Lilo and Stitch anime too.
yeah, yeah. It was a ton of bit parts, and then I played like a little alien, evil alien boy that morphs into a human or something like that. I got that too through Mark Handler. He's a big. Um, I'm not sure what he's doing now. Uh, he's definitely a big like anime, or was a big anime director and a big liaison between like Cartoon Network Asia
Oh,
and adapting a lot of um, localizing
yeah.
a lot of projects into English. So yeah, that was another one I got through when I was young and fresh, and he knew I was doing stuff, so he's like, "Yeah, come and do a bunch of bit rolls," which I really love doing bit rolls. There's something fun about like going into a session and being like 20 different people. Maybe there's like a policeman that has like two lines, or like a guy sitting on a park bench that goes like, "What?" A bunch of guys that just have like one or five lines, and you got to get really creative with that sort of stuff, and in the ways you try to differentiate them, or if you need to differentiate them, if they're like in the same scene or farther enough in different scenes. And anyway, bit parts. Pardon my rambling.
That's okay. What do you think the case is where you've had to alter your voice the most so far?
that's uh that's like booked. Oh, plague babies, for sure. It was a bunch of weird like grunting and squealing.
Yeah.
Like I can do this like weird freakish like high end squeal, and that was the first time I get to. I'm like, finally, I'm getting paid for the squeal. So yeah, definitely Demon Souls, Plague Babies. I was very stoked on that casting. Then I gotta make a bunch of disgusting noises.
I think I was about to ask next what the darkest headspace is you've had to go for a character.
Oh, yes. Sakahagi for Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
He is a serial killer. He wears a suit made of people's faces.
Mhm.
So there's actually another role that's coming out. It's a live action dub where I play a man who falls in love with a dead body, of course. And of course, he falls in love with a dead body and he has to fondle it and read it bedtime stories and stuff. So I'm on a real roll with booking creeps and serial killers. Hey, if it pays, find your niche. But yeah, definitely Sakahagi. Definitely to, um, which it is a really fun archetype to play. Just not giving a damn, cold-blooded killer. It's just thirst for power. So yeah,
There was,
that
there
one.
was, I think you were saying there was another role outside of the Plague Babies where you got to alter your voice a lot too.
Hmm, let's see here. Halo is pretty big for the jackals. That's a pretty big, because that has like a lot of gravel in it, where you go like human.
So
Yeah.
then, did you get involved with Fire Emblem before Genshin Impact?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I believe Fire Emblem came before Genshin. Yes, it definitely did. I believe it's about. Let's see. This is all pre-pande. Fire Emblem would have been like November of 2019, and then or October, and then the first Genshin sessions would have been December
Oh,
next
okay.
month, like a month later. So they were pretty close. We actually recorded the Fire Emblem, and then in November, and then I don't think it released until like the following July. Like it was a huge lead time on the release. Just because, like I said, they have like so much content to stagger out.
Mhm.
It's one of those games that just is just like a content machine. There's like so much,
Mhm.
which is awesome. And
Oh,
for mobile, the art style is really awesome,
yeah.
which I really appreciate.
So were both Rath and Gatrie, were those at the same time?
Yeah, those are both in the same recording session, which was super fun. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably choose Gatrie, just because.
It's a pretty funny lines.
Yeah, exactly. The lady killer, like supposed ladies man,
Mhm.
thinks he's all that, thinks he's top dog.
Do you think that you relate more to Rath though?
Yeah, in my like he's more of like a naturalist. I like going outside. I think yeah, him and I'm great with the bow. No, I'm just kidding. I'm horrible with the bow and arrow, but um yeah, as far as right, he's nomad from the steppes, very is more attuned to nature and the outdoors, so I think we'd be more in similitude on that front.
Mhm.
Because I like to hike and camp and all that junk. So
Was that Patrick Seitz directing you on them?
who was that? Was that Wendy?
Wendy? Yeah.
Wendy Lee, I believe. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that would have been her.
Have you worked with her a lot too?
That was actually the only time. I would love to meet. Um, I mean, I would love to get directed by Patrick. I've met him a couple times as like loose acquaintances, and so he's always awesome.
Yeah.
But I would love to work in the booth with him.
Well, now I know it's for the past several months it's been Caitlin Galt directing Fire Emblem
Oh, okay.
Heroes. Yeah.
Nice. I definitely know of her, but I've never been directed by her. You
Okay.
know, that'd be cool.
Do you play the game or did you when your characters came out?
Yeah. I played a little bit. I'll admit I haven't played like uh a turn-based RPG since what, that last Dragoon or something that was for like PlayStation in like 2001. Something Dragoon. It was like a 5 disc, just super long.
Hmm.
And I think after that, I was like, that was a lot, and I was just kind of like burnt out,
Yeah.
which is kind of a bummer because there's like tons of great ones out there that I should probably be getting into. For a mobile game, it doesn't like play like a mobile game, if that makes sense. There's a lot more to it than should be
Yeah.
than you would expect from a mobile game, than from just like Words with Friends or Tetris or something like that,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I definitely did a you know did the unlocks until I got both my characters, which Rath was a long time if I remember correctly. I don't think he comes up too often, or maybe he does, and I was just unlucky. So
It does seem like both of those are pretty close to your natural voice too.
yeah. Gatrie a little more so. With Rath, I'm a little higher up in a little smokier, like softer texture. Gatrie just more down here, more in my hey. That's what you do. No, I'm just kidding. Can't say that. Don't say that. It's not 1952. All right. Anyway, yeah.
Well, and with Genshin, were you auditioning for a playable character?
Let's see. I actually got on that. Uh, I have auditioned for like main characters. Haven't got one yet, but we'll see. That'd be cool to be one of the main characters. But one of my another one of my friends that we both starting out, he was assistant directing or like a show running assistant, and I was intern, and then he came up, and now he gets to direct me, and I get to be in the booth with him. Chris Fiella,
Yeah.
um, really good friend of mine. Yeah, he brought me in to do bit parts, and just like fill a bunch of spots, and so that's they bring me. I know it just lists me as Andreas or Boreas on IMDb, but I'm also the lovable creep under the dock, Bolai. There in oh man, what city is it? I'm having a brain fart. It's been a long day, but uh yeah, and I also played two drunks. One guy named Mr. Payne and another guy named Nimrod. So I play a shady back alley dealer, two alcoholics, and a giant wolf man. And there's like a bunch of other, like a random one-liners, but yeah, for some reason IMDb won't register my credit. I don't know if it has something to do with like it's associated with like the Chinese voice actor or something like that, but oh
Mhm.
well, what can you do?
Do you remember what your vocal approach was to Boreas?
Um I know that Chris was and I believe it does have an effect on it in the game, a pretty epic effect at that. They did, put some like reverb and some modulation and stuff of the like post processing on there. But basically, Chris was just like, I don't know, do something, and then I would like do something. He's like, no, more this. So he kind of like, and no, more that, da da da. So he kind of like, just kind of like, I don't know, whips something out, and then he kind of like, um, coaxed it into place. And the main concern was making sure that it wouldn't be too close to similar sounding to other characters that I voiced, and uh, where they are in relation to each other,
Hmm.
whether it be like chronologically in the storyline or, like physically in distance. You know, if you go to like one fruit vendor over here and he's like, "Hi, how's it going?" And then go to the fish stall next door and he's like, "Hi, how's it going?" It's like, "Huh?" But if they're in like the next city over, or, if they're in like 4 chapters later, and that might be enough space for, it to have a little uh, leeway with that. But yeah.
When I most recently got to do bunch of incidental voices for Lost Ark. It's another anime game.
Yeah, yeah, Korean RPG, I believe. I believe it's Korean. Uh, yeah, that one was insane. Cause like as like a voiceover acting exercise. Again, director Phil Bach. Um, uh, I get into the session and it was just a 2 hour block of just like, all right, now you're this guy. He's standing on a dock. He has one line. Da da da. This. All right, now you're this guy. It must have been like close to, if not over, 100 different characters, just like rapid fire, going, 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 and just like as little context as possible, and just because apparently there's like I forget the amount, but they had just there's just a staggering amount of dialogue in the game, and I know I'm listed as additional voices, but I am part of a specific cutscene where, if I remember correctly, I play some. He's an evil general who I think is the uncle of one of the main characters. some Something like that, and now he's like battling his nephew or something and trying to
Mhm.
usurp some throne or something like that. But so there's a couple characters in there that had full cutscenes and more like 20, 25 lines, and the most fun characters to play are like crazed heretics that are like thirsting for blood, and you kind of get to do kind of shaky kind of voice thing, and very very much uh, bandits from Borderlands kind of stuff. Yeah, that stuff is so fun. That stuff is my favorite. Playing psychopaths and murderers, and I got to be. It's not up on IMDb because I just finally found out what the expansion pack was, or like the DLC was for Fallout 76. But I got to be some Blood Eagle warriors in that, which are all screaming like, "I'm gonna rip your limbs off!" And yeah, and they're all high on jet and just high, high on future meth and just
Yeah.
murder people. It's great.
Well, if you don't come back for a third character, I mean, it'd be cool if Gatrie or Rath gets like a fallen version of their character, like a evil version.
Oh man, yeah, that would be dope. That would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to get back in it. It's artistically, it's a beautiful world, and got a great community behind it. So
There's a
it's
lot
just
of. What are you gonna say?
I just learned it just came out. There's another mobile game. I think it's kind of similar, Brave Exvius or something like that. It's Final Fantasy based.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, a while ago, I had a session where I voiced a guy named Astrius. So that just came out. So wrong Reddit community. I don't know. But if you're playing that too,
Well, I know it's been quite a while, but do you remember like any lines you liked the most from Wrath or Gatrie?
let's see. What is Oh, of course. Oh, of course. 1,000 curses upon you.
Yeah.
How epic is that?
So, is there anything else that's upcoming that you're part of that you can safely talk about?
Yeah, if you're not following me on social media already, follow me at Jacob Craner on Twitter and Double Jarviz on Instagram. I made that name up a long time ago and I refuse to change it. It's Double Jarviz, baby. And nothing I can really talk about because, I mean, as you know from all your interviews, is the lead time, the production time on video games is just massive. So tune in next spring, 2023, and I'll have a big announcement then. And yeah, there's some things that are finishing up in the pipes that will be trickling out. Definitely Brave Exvius was one of those that I was waiting to come out, and I will have done a lot of bit parts in 2 anime series that will be coming out on, I believe, Funimation, of course. Well, I guess now it doesn't matter because they merged, right? uh, so yeah, keep an ear out for that. What else is going on? What else?
What about the anime that, or you probably can't talk about the anime that you're doing like editing or engineering work on that you touched on earlier?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hmm.
But I'm definitely stay tuned for that because I'm totally gonna put that on blast when it comes out because it's pretty sweet if I do say so myself. It's fun. If you look for me in your YouTube pre-roll or streaming, voicing the Pennington lawn care commercials that came out recently, that was fun. That was fun. Commercial work is such a blast, and it pays really well, so it's a win-win. And yeah, beyond that, if you follow me on social media, I'll be as it comes. I'll be broadcasting it to the world. So
Well, my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
my legacy. Let's see. Well, there's 2 ways that can go. There's one from more of a cultural, spiritual standpoint. From that standpoint, I want to be known. I want my legacy to be known as a kind man, as a good man. He's just a nice guy. And then there's also, you know, a professional perspective on that. What do you want your professional legacy to be? I want to be a character. I want to be characters that are really part of people's lives. And there's some video game characters and cartoon characters where they're like, that guy is my shit, like to a T, like Fry off of Futurama. I, I love Fry. I love Billy West. So, I want to create memorable characters that people can really connect with and relate to, and that are just lovable. So I guess I want to be lovable both my personal life and my professional life. How about that?
Okay.
Who knows if that makes sense whatsoever? I just say British for like the past hour and a half. Who knows? But let it be, as the Beatles once said. It's all good.
Thanks. I'm glad that we got to
Awesome.
do this.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris.
Mhm.
Is this um what's the turnaround, do you think?
Oh, I'll probably get it. I'll have it up like before the end of the week.
Oh, right on. Well, um will it be, if I can find, if it gets posted anywhere on like social media, I'll definitely, like retweet it or repost it, whatever. Give it the boost.
Oh yeah, I can email it to you once I have it up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Have a good night.